Fourth one, hidden form fields. How many session tracking methods completed? 2. What are those? Cookies and URL rewriting. In cookies, client state information, where it is stored? Browser memory. Second session tracking method, URL reading, appended to URL. With URL only will be there. See, cookies, I'll run this program, run on server. Here, books.html. Whatever you select, click submit button. Your books are added to cart. Next, selected books. Okay, this is your scene. Next, URL rewriting. Run on server. Here, books.html. Select the books. Submit button. Your books are added to cart. Okay, you are getting. But here, these are shopping items, books. Are these confidential? No. If you use cookies also okay. If you use URL reading also okay, not a problem. Suppose one login for application is there. Login application. Here, username, password, we are passing. Here, one session tracking method already written. Here, login solid to welcome solid. I passed username, password. You have seen. Homepage.html, login, username, password. When I click submit button, you are getting welcome AAA. This username. But password also stored, no? That password other people can see. How to see? Here, browser settings. Settings. Here, cookies and site permissions. Manage and delete cookies. See all cookies. Here, 2 cookies. Here, 2 cookies localhost. Here, password. Here, like this, password content. They can see. This is not safe. Okay. Now, URL rewriting also not safe. Now, suppose this program, I want to write URL rewriting. How to write? See. Writing program is same. Concepts different appears. Login solid. In login solid to welcome solid. Here, what we did? Is it forwarding or redirecting? Redirecting. In forwarding, redirecting, what's the main difference? Forwarding data and control password to next solid. Redirecting only control password to next solid. But I retrieved data with helping of cookies. Okay. With helping of cookies I retrieved. Now, instead of cookies, I want to retrieve with URL rewriting. Where is URL? This is URL. Here, you can write question mark uname equal to S1. Here already we return these 2. Uname S1 and P word S2. Here it is in double quotes plus, because it should be outside the double quotes variable. Okay, like this. Now, welcome question mark uname equal to S1 and P word equal to S2. Now, login solid. Login solid like this you have to write. Welcome solid. Welcome solid here. It is cookie program I written previously. I'll remove cookie. Here, cookies, what will happen? All cookies are stored in array. Array, first cookie, C of 0. Okay? Like a second cookie, C of 1, C of 2, like that. Like that I retrieved yesterday. Now, here, I'll remove cookie now. That is, we have to retrieve with from URL. What you have to write? String sc equal to request dot get parameter. Parameter name, uname. Password we should not display. So only uname. Only uname. That username, yes. That is going to be displayed. Now I change it two programs you observe. Login solid, welcome solid. I'll run. Welcome solid, save. Login solid, save. Now restart the server. Now you observe, now also we can bring. Now homepage.html. Login. AAA. When I click login submit button, how many solids executed? 2 solids. What are those? Login solid, welcome solid. Login solid to welcome solid, forwarding is there or including is there or redirecting is there? Redirecting. Will you get a data? No. But how you are retrieving? With URL writing session tracking method. Okay. See. Welcome AAA. But here what is the problem you observe? Password also displayed in address bar. That's what. Cookies also not suitable. URL rating also not suitable. If data is confidential, then third session tracking method, HTTP sessions we have to write. Okay. Next. So in that program, shopping items I stored. In this program, username, password I stored. Okay. Now, next third session tracking method, HTTP sessions. Third session tracking method, HTTP sessions. In this session tracking method, client state information stored in server memory. In this session tracking method, client state information stored in server memory. In this session tracking method, client state information stored in server memory. Here, client server. Client side stored means you can see, other people can see, but server side stored means no one can see. No one can see, no? That's what it is secure. But here problem is, suppose two clients. Now, two clients are communicating with server. Very first time, you'll enter username, password. For that username, one memory allocated. For this username, some memory allocated. This person will select the item. The item is stored in this cart. This person selected item. It is stored in this cart. Second item, again, it will identify. But how will identify? ID required. Otherwise, without ID, it is not possible to identify. But in previous programs, no session ID. But in this program, session ID compulsory. For example, Here, server clients. Server clients. Three clients are there. One server is there. Three people doing shopping, online shopping. Now, this person selected item stored in this computer only. This person selected items in this computer only. In this person here only. Why ID? Your items in your system only. Whatever you selected, that is stored in your system only. Then your items in your cart only. And that person item, that person cart only, separate. But all are stored in server. All are stored in server means how server will understand this cart, whose cart? ID required. See, for example, you'll go to shopping mall. You'll go to one shopping mall. There are two different shopping malls. Now, you'll go to one shopping mall. Already you have one bag. Already you have one bag. In one shopping mall, they are allowing bag inside with you only. They are allowing. One more shopping mall, they are not allowing. Two different shopping malls. Okay. In one shopping mall, they are allowing you have some bag. Already you have one bag. They are allowing one shopping mall. One more shopping mall, they are not allowing. Now, two different types. Now, suppose you'll go to shopping mall, you have a bag. What they'll do? They'll say, keep with security. You'll go to security, that bag you'll kept with security. You'll go inside, again you'll come back. Same type of bags, many appears. Then how will identify? That's what before entering into shopping mall, whenever you kept with security, you'll give one token. Okay, you'll give one token. With the token, you can identify. With the token, security also can identify. That is your bag. Otherwise, how security knows, how you knows. Same type of bags, maybe same appears many. Or you have to open, you have to see the things also. Okay. Otherwise, but security cannot understand that is your bag or not. Okay, your bag you identified. But security, how will identify? He doesn't know whether it is your bag, other people's bag you are taking. How will identify? He cannot remember all, no? That's what he'll give token number. Suppose one more shopping mall, they are allowing bag inside only with you only. Your bag with you only. Is it token number required? Like that. Cookies nothing but your bag with you only. Sessions nothing but all bags with kept security. That type. All bags with security means token number compulsory. Otherwise, security cannot identify whether it is your bag, other people's bag you are taking. They cannot identify. All people bags with one person means security token ID required. But your bag with you only, why token? Okay, token is not required. Like that. Cookies nothing but stored in client system. Your items in your cart only. Other person item in other person cart only. Then why ID? ID is not required. Okay. But all people items in server only. Then ID required. That's what. In this session tracking method, client state information stored in server memory. Worldwide, crores of people will shop. All people items are going to be stored in server. In that situation, ID required to identify the client. Write it. In this session tracking method, session ID created by web container to recognize the client. In this session tracking method, session ID created by web container to recognize the client. In this session tracking method, session ID created by web container to recognize the client. Here, session ID created and passed to client system by web container Your session ID created and passed to client system by web container with login response. Next, here session ID destroyed whenever login request comes. Logout request comes. Whenever logout request comes to a server. Your session ID destroyed whenever logout request comes to a server. Now, how it will recognize is with IDs. Otherwise, server doesn't know whose client, whose items. Say, it is server. These are clients. These are clients. This person will send login request. Some memory allocated for that. One ID created. 101. It is called session ID. This ID passed to client system. Okay. That 101 stored here. Again, this person logged in. One more ID created. One more cart created. One more ID created. That ID passed to client system. It is stored in browser. Now, again, here one more ID created. 103. This is don't write. I'll give another diagram. Here 103. 103. Now you observe. Next time, what he will do? He'll select two items. He selects two items. Then what will happen? This 101 comes, two items comes. Then 101, 101 matched. Then it will understand this person cart here. This person selected. Because his username also will be stored. So it will recognize. With this 101, it will store the items in this cart. When this person select the items, with items comes, 102 comes. Then stored here. When this person select the item, that item comes, 103 comes. It stores here. Later, if you open here, this person opens payment page. These all items are retrieved. If this person opens payment page, these all items are retrieved. But when this person retrieves, this is here stored in server memory, nothing but session, HTTP session. But ID stored in client memory, nothing but cookie. That's what this session tracking method independently not possible. It is depending on one more session tracking method. To maintain ID, one more session tracking method required. Write it. To implement this session tracking method, we need one more session tracking method. Either cookies or URL rewriting. To implement this session tracking method, we need one more session tracking method, either cookies or URL rating. There are two ways to implement this session tracking method. There are two ways to implement this session tracking method. First one, HTTP sessions with cookies. Second one, HTTP sessions with URL rewriting. There are two ways to implement this session tracking method. First one, HTTP sessions with cookies. Second one, HTTP sessions with URL rewriting. So if you want to use HTTP sessions, compulsory either cookies required or URL rewriting required. Without cookie, without URL rewriting, it is not possible. Okay. Now, so to implement this session tracking method, we need one more session tracking method, either cookies or URL rating. That's what there are two ways to implement this session tracking method. One is HTTP sessions with cookies. Second one, HTTP session with URL rating. Now, in this session tracking method, to maintain session ID, either cookies or URL rewriting required. So actually this point I have to give there only. I didn't give, that's the reason. Again, I given. Here session ID purpose only required. In the session tracking method, to maintain session ID, either cookies or URL rating required. I'll explain. With the diagrams, I'll explain. So what purpose cookie required, what purpose URL rating is? Session ID purpose. Is it over? Now, first one, HTTP sessions with cookies. First one, HTTP sessions with cookies. In this session tracking method, client state information stored in server memory in session variables. In this session tracking method, session ID stored in client system in cookie variable. In this session tracking method, session ID is stored in client system in cookie variable. I'll explain with a diagram. Is it over? Say why this session tracking method name is like this is client state information stored in sessions, server side. ID is stored in cookies. That's what this name is, sessions with cookies. Here little confusion will be there. I'll give clarity. If any piece of information stored in client computer, that is cookie. If any piece of information stored in server computer, that is called session. But session is a time period between login and logout also I said. But session tracking method name also session. Session tracking method name also session. But instead of calling HTTP session, they are calling. But actually session also, you can interview, they may ask only session also. Session also, HTTP session also, both are same. Okay. Now, how this mechanism works, you see. It is client system. 1 minute. Client system. It is server system. It is a web client. It is web server. Now, here first login request comes. Login request. First login request comes here. Login request. Whenever login request comes, here it constructs a login response and creates session ID. Now say you will enter username and password. That is login request. Username, password is there or not, it will check in the database. That is login response. If exists, session ID created. Here, ID passed with login response. Login response plus session ID. Login response plus session ID. Now, here it is stored. Stores session ID. Session ID is stored in client computer. That is called cookie. After that, second request. What will happen? Second request comes. Session ID comes. Session ID comes. Then it will understand whose client with that ID. It can recognize. Okay. Now, constructs second response. Now, just response only passed. Second response. Second response. Okay. Like this. Third request, session ID. Third request, session ID. Okay. Third request and session ID. Here also, third response and session ID. At last, logout request. Logout request and session ID. Logout request session ID. Then here vanishes session ID. Response comes. Again here also vanished. Logout request response. Here constructs logout response vanishes session ID and constructs logout response. Vanishes session ID and constructs logout response. When logout response comes, no, here also vanishes. Vanishes session ID. Now, here, how many times server will send session ID to client? Think you see the diagram, you can give answer. How many times? One time. How many times client will send to server? Every time. Next, first, except first. So, first response, with the first response, server will send. Second request onwards, client will send. Okay, now write this diagram. Very first time server will send. Second time onwards, client will send to server. Later. Is it over? Now, client system, it will send username password. That is called login request. Okay. Very first time, it will send username password. That is called login request. Okay. Now, it constructs a login response. That means it will communicate with database given username password exists or not. If it exists, for that session ID created, that ID passed with login response. Then that ID is stored in cookie variable. Client side means cookie, server side means session. It is stored here. Later, suppose this person selected some shopping items. Items comes, that is second request. Session ID also comes. Items are stored here. That is shopping item, shopping application, shopping items. Other application, other things will be there. Like that, second response constructed. That response comes. Again, third request session ID comes. Third response comes. Fourth request session ID. With every request session ID comes from client to server. With that only server will understand that is who selected that item. Okay. Like logout request plus session ID comes. Session ID vanished, constructed logout response. When out response comes, the year also vanished. Both sides session ID vanished. Now, here, example shopping item, shopping application. Your shopping items are where it is stored? Server or client? Server. Client state information. Nothing but shopping items, examination ID, username, password is all. Now, to maintain that one at server side, ID created. That ID is stored in client. That is cookie. Okay. See, this is only best example to understand. It is server. These are clients. These are clients. Now, here database. Now, here web client 1. Web client 1. Here web client 2. Here web client 3. It is web server. It is database. Now, web client 1. Suppose he entered username AAA. Some password also entered. That request comes. It will communicate with database. For that user, memory allocated. Shopping cart. Shopping cart, nothing but memory. For this, one ID created. 101. Then ID passed to client system. It is stored in client system in cookie variable. Now, this person entered username BBB and password. Request comes, communicates with database. Given username password exists. For this person also one ID created. That ID, suppose example 102. This ID passed to client system. It is stored in client system 102. Suppose same style, one more shopping cart. CCC username ID 103 like this. This ID passed to client system. Now, it is starting process. Login request, all login requests, login response completed. Now, he selected two items. Two items comes with client to server. But only items comes where it should store, who is selected, how it will understand. That's what ID comes. Your items comes, ID comes. Then 101 matched. Then server will understand these items are selected by AAA user. Then it stores here. Suppose this person selected one item. Item comes. After that 102 also comes. Then 102 matched. Then server will understand this item selected by triple B. It will store. This person will select 5 items. 5 items comes, 103 comes. Then it will understand these items are selected by triple C user. Like this. Now, after half an hour, he selected one more item. Nothing will happen. After half an hour, selected. Item comes, 101 comes. Then it will understand this item is selected by triple A. Like this. Now, later, he opened payment page. These all items are displayed here. Whatever you selected, quantity, price, total, grand total, amount displayed, and you paid. Then what will happen? Logout request comes. This total memory vanished. Again, response comes. Here also vanished. Like this. Now here, how many times server will send session ID to client system? One time only. That is first request response only. With the first response only. Logout, login response. How many times client will send to server session ID? Many times. Second, except of login request. Login time, ID is not there. So, second request onwards up to logout request. Session ID passed client to server many times. Okay. With this ID only, it is recognizing no. Now, here shopping items stored in client system or server system. Client or server? Server. That is only client state information. Session ID is stored in both the places stored. Server also stored, client also stored. With that only it can recognize. Created by web container, stored in server and passed to client and stored in client also. Okay. Now write this one. In the above example, in the above example, session ID created by web container whenever login request comes to a server, comma. In the above example, session ID created by web container whenever login request comes to a server, comma, stored in server memory in session variable, stored in server memory, write it. That is just separate memory. Stored in server memory and passed, comma, passed to client system with login response and stored in client system. In cookie variable. In the above example, session ID created by web container whenever login request comes to a server. Stored in server memory, passed to client system with login response and stored in client system in cookie variable. Now, here server will send session ID. Server will send session ID to client system. Here server will send session ID to client system only one time with login response. Here client will send session ID to server system. Many times second request onwards. Up to logout request. Your client will send session ID to server system many times. Second request onwards up to logout request. When cookies are vanished by default, whenever browser window is closed. Is it possible to set time interval? Yes. Here, by default, sessions are vanished after 30 minutes in Tomcat server. Here by default sessions are vanished after 30 minutes in Tomcat server. Here it is possible to set the time interval. It is possible to set the time interval by using set max inactive interval method of HTTP session interface. Here it is possible to set the time interval by using set max inactive interval method of HTTP session interface. Their set max age of cookie class. Their set max age, here set max inactive interval. Here it is possible to set the time interval by using set max inactive interval method of HTTP session interface. First session tracking method cookies. Is there any session ID? No. Second session tracking method URL heading. Any session ID? No. Third session tracking method HTTP session. Is there any session ID? To maintain this session ID, cookies or URL rating required. Now here cookies we are using means cookie variable stored. URL rating you are using means session ID appended to URL. You observe some websites, one very big number appears in address bar. That is nothing but session ID. Like some websites, total address bar is full. Address bar complete, some numbers, alphanumeric mixed appears. That is session ID with URL rating. Session ID with URL rating concept that is. But first you will learn cookies. Here cookies by default. Cookie code no need to write by default. Okay. Now you are learning HTTP session with cookies. Is it over? Now how to implement this? We'll see. First methods required. HTTP session interface required. Methods. Here, get creation time, get ID, get lost accessor time. For accessing context, set attribute, get attribute. These are Redis methods. So here only method names you observe. Get creation time. When session created, that time. Get ID, session ID. Get last accessor time. Their only meaning is there. Invalidate. It is vanished. It is used to vanish a session ID. This is somewhat different. Invalidate. It is used to vanish a session ID. Set attribute, get attribute, remove attribute to store session variables. Is it over? These all public abstract, leave it. Only return type, method name, write it. All public only, all abstract only. Return type, method name, write it. Get creation time. When session is created, that time comes. Get ID. That ID string format comes because alphanumeric mixed. Get last accessed time. When it is last accessed, that time. Set max inactive interval. By default 30 minutes. If you want more than that or if you want less than that, you can use this method. If you call get max inactive interval, you will get a 30. After setting, again if you call, latest one comes. Get attribute, set attribute, remove attribute. It is just like a cookie, add cookie method type. Creating, getting, removing. Invalidate to vanish the session ID. Is it completed? Is it completed? Now, how to use these methods only I'll explain first. Program later, other program later. Here, Soulet.hdp Soulet request. First, HTTP session required interface, that is interface. For getting that one, again this method required. Here one more method required. Get session. Write this one. So get session method, if we call, HTTP session comes. With that, we can call other methods. Cookie variable name, cookie value. Like that only set attribute method. Name and value pair. Set attribute, get attribute, remove attribute. In the program, I'll show you. Like a book 1, Java to complete reference, I written no, set attribute. Book 1, Java to complete reference, you have to pass. If we call this method, you will get a reference. With this reference, those all methods you can access. Is it over? So this HTTP Soulet request is available in doGet, doPost service. There with that request get session method, if you call, HTTP session comes. With this other methods you can access. First see the one small program. Say file new dynamic web project. Something session. Session 1. Next. Session 1. Okay. Right click, new, one Soulet. Here, one Soulet, something session Soulet. Okay, package name, suppose session 1. Class name, session Soulet. Suppose I'll write session. Only one Soulet I am writing. Which type of request coming? By default, get. So do get. Now here, first you should get HTTP session. What we just now I given method. What is the method name? Get session. What is the return type? What we have to write? HTTP session HS equal to request dot get session. Okay. Now we'll get a session reference. With this reference, can I call HTTP session methods? First, I want to call ID. What is the method name? Get ID. What is the return type? String. What you have to write? String SC equal to HS dot get ID. ID comes. That ID you want to print. If you want to print writer require print writer PW equal to response dot get writer. You can print PW dot println yes. Instead of writing like this, these two lines can I write as a one line? Directly here, HS dot get ID. Okay. After this, when it is created, I want to display. What you have to write? HS dot get creation time. But get creation time method, what it returns? Long. Long is that is seconds, milliseconds displayed. But complete number of milliseconds displayed, but time not displayed. For displaying time, date class you have to use. New date. Then it will display time. What I did, you observe, milliseconds I passed in date class constructor. Then time displayed. That constructor is there. That type of constructor is there. Java P java.util.date. Here you observe, which takes long. Now that method name. What is the method name? Get creation time. What is returning? Long. That long I'm passing to date. Then date displayed. Same style. pw.println. Next, last access time. New date. Year. HS dot get last access time. When it is accessed last, that is. I want to get the time interval. Now, which method you have to call? HS dot get max inactive interval. It is also. Now, you observe java.util.date. Now, here, first ID displayed. Next, when it is created displayed. Next, last, when it is accessed displayed. Next, max inactive interval, time displayed. For this, I'll add some HTML code. HTML body BG color. Level 1 heading. After this, level 1 heading close, body close, HTML close. Here, after ID, line break. Here, after creation time, line break. After last access time, line break. Now you observe up to here, right click, run on server, save. Session. See, ID displayed, time displayed. See, when session ID created, time displayed. Last access time, 1800, that means nothing but 30 minutes. default time. If I refresh, here time changed, you observe when it is last accessed. You observe it is creation time, it is last accessed time. So here 1800 milliseconds, 1800 seconds by default here. So here ID, it is ID. This is ID. See ID, alphanumeric mixed, no? So alphanumeric mixed. It is creation time. It is created. Last accessed time. This is last accessed. This is max inactive interval. By default 1800 seconds. Here. If you want to display seconds, I can display seconds. Then seconds display 1800 seconds. Default is 1800 seconds. 1800 seconds equal to 30 minutes, half an hour. Okay. By default. Now, just to get the session information, this is write this program. No done. Program to get session information. Write this program. Program to get session information. This session tracking method implementation program I didn't give. This is only just a session retrieved. That's it. That is tomorrow I'll show you that method. So here hs dot get id, then session id displayed. hs dot get creation time returns long. Long I passed as a parameter to constructor. Then object created, implicitly toString method called with the time displayed. Get last accessor time, when session is last accessed, that time. And get max inactive interval, by default 1800 seconds. 1800 seconds, nothing but 30 minutes, half an hour. That is displayed. Is it over? Say again, if I refresh here, when it is created 848, when it is last accessed 849. See, if I refresh, 1 minute, it is another created. That actually it should not create again. Okay, I'll show you tomorrow. Just write it. Is it over? We'll see continuation tomorrow.